Well, welcome back, my friends, all to another rousing rendition of Choir Boys Outdoors. Now listen, in the late 1660s, Captain Henry Morgan stormed the country of Panama, first at Portobello. Later, he would make his way to the capital city, Panama City itself, and would set it ablaze. Now, he is regarded as one of the most successful privateers in history. Some view him a hero, others a terrorist. Old Captain Scab, review him and revere him as for what he was, a man of his time. He was a terrorist, he was a privateer. To some, he was a hero. To the indigenous tribes of Panama, he was a devil. This is the Atrim Cutlass from Kingston Arms. What does it have to do with Sir Henry Morgan? He was later knighted for his efforts. Nothing. This is not a historical cutlass, but it was sent to me by Patrick from Cass, Iberia, to test out. Admittedly, I have put off this review, not because I don't like this cutlass. I love the damn thing. Selfish reasons. I enjoy a good blade, as does anyone. And once you review it, that new luster wears off, doesn't it? Y'all hear that singing? But I love it. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to storm the swamp, just like Captain Morgan stormed Panama. It's the best way for me to review it. Honestly, I don't have a lot of soft targets to hit, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut a swath through the swamp, much like the pirates that invaded Panama did. Now, I can't stab any indigenous people out here or meth crafters. That'd be highly illegal. Join me if you would. I'm Scab, your host on this journey. Let's check this thing out, son. Guys, what I'll do is I'll try to put some B-roll in of this thing. It is absolutely gorgeous. You see the pommel there and that leather wrapping. Now, what I'm going to do is put a link to this sword from Kingston Arms. I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons. It will give you the designer and the backstory. The reason we're going to test it this way, and this is about as hard of a wood as I'm going to hit, for the simple fact they weren't made for that. You know what I'm saying? It is made for soft targets. And as much as we joke and whatnot, again, I can't just go around cutting people, whether they're meth crafters or not. I'll tell you this. It has a good weight to it. I've got a good grip. The handguard here is not in the way at all. I will say when I swing it, the pommel hits this part of my hand, and that could be summed to lack of experience on swinging. Now, we are in a swamp, so the footing is uneven. I'm going to try not to stagger. I would show you this too. The edge begins here. So the edge is here and runs to the tip. I'll give you some better close-ups. I know sometimes my camera doesn't pick things up, but it has that classic saber look. That is a false. Well, it's not false. It's just not a sharpened swedge. I will try to stab a tire with it. Again, probably not the best thing to do, but hell, if it'll go through a tire, it'll go through its intended target. And again, I love history. My thought process on it, and my mind travels back to Captain Morgan in Panama, because pirates, privateers, whatever you had, would typically rely on their sword for protection, for self-defense, for hacking their way through. The interesting thing about Captain Morgan is this too. They say he was a far better land commander, war commander, than he was a navigator. I believe he ran 3 or 4 ships aground. He is known for his assaults on Panama. Again, the weight is good. It feels like it's sturdy. And if I'm remembering correctly, on the Atrim, the designer, basically they took a blade shape, they took a handle shape, they took the handguard and did a what if. Again, not a historical piece wasn't meant to be. And so I don't want to make it that. It's just when I think of privateers and pirates, I think of cutlasses. Albeit the pirate cutlass was probably shorter, heavier, etc. But it's a good excuse to get in the swamp. And I'm doing this in real time instead of my narration. Let's see. I do like that pommel. It hits me a couple times there, but I have found if I want to get a little more whip, I can hold it down here. Now, I have zero sword training. You say, Scab, no way. I couldn't tell that. I don't pretend to. I can cut pretty good. I try to understand the balance and flow of the sword, but again, I don't pretend to be something I'm not. Being a knife reviewer, even a big knife reviewer, I'm going to review a sword how I would review a knife. Is that correct? Probably not. But it does add an air of funness to it. You see kind of the balance point there. And again, it just flows really, really well. All right, let's move in. Let's try to find like some, let's try to find some palmettos and some vines. Make some quick work of them. Now, let me say this too to my dear tree-hugging friends. We're not cutting down anything that won't grow back 100-fold. In Florida, palmettos, vines, things like that are everywhere. We do want to be careful though too, because we are in the swamp, moccasin country. It's a bit dry. I chose middle of the day instead of later because they, move at night. But with it being dry, we've got to watch our step. Doesn't matter that it's February. Right now it's about 70 degrees. In Florida, they're moving. Again, really good weight to the sword. Swings good. It's got some really good hitting power. I'll let you know if there's any sets or chips. I don't see any. Good look at how it holds up. So far, so good. I'll tell you this, one of the best parts of this sword is the damn sheath. That leather works insane. I'll try to get some B-roll of that too. The sheath is legit my favorite part. It's gorgeous. Right about like that. And if this isn't the way it's supposed to ride, it's the way it's set up. So, pretty good to... Little Scab the swordsman, Scab the Buccaneer Baldwin. Y'all know. Don't act like you're not impressed. Now what we want to be careful of here is any kind of yellow jackets or hornet's nest, because if y'all remember last time, well, it's been a couple years ago, I was in the swamp, took a pee break and peed right in the damn yellow jacket hole. It was not a good time for old Scab. Now I can imagine Captain Morgan's men going through a swamp trying to fight not only small Spanish garrisons, but natives, snakes, disease, pestilence. They said at one point, because they didn't take the right amount or correct amount of supplies, they thought they'd steal and plunder along the way. And there were several instances where the natives kicked their ass. They had to boil shoe leather. So this wasn't some fun romp through the swamp like we're doing. It was hardship. So they had to rely on their weapon, on their sword. You got to figure if they had the arquebuses or whatever they had, the humidity, the temp, the humidity, all of that was a factor. So they really had to maintain these and keep these sharp and keep them moving. I would imagine it's difficult. The damn thing come down on my head. Well, that was rotten. That one's rotten. Old scab might have been through here before. Let's check this one. There we go. Pretty good penetration there, even though it's rotted or dried out. We'll see if it does any tip damage. Bitch. I don't see any rolls. Now this, I'm not really looking hardcore. We've hit a lot of dried out stuff, and a lot of times when you guys see me swinging low, I've hit some dried branches. Won't say logs, but branches. So far it's held up. And again, this is for, you know, soft targets. You could use it. Nobody's going to use it like I use it, but this is a good way to see that if you did, it works. Now, here are some of these vines, these old Florida vines that are abundant and everywhere. Again, guys, this was sent to me by Patrick from Cass, Iberia. Check them out. Kingston Arms is the maker. We've had Patrick on a couple of times on Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Awesome guy. They have some great products. Like I said, I'm going to put a link in the description. I don't know the steel. I didn't look. Patient. Now, quick survival hack. Y'all see how much that's dripping? There's a million of these vines out here. If you needed water, you could filter that. You cut it like that. But check out Patrick, Cass Iberia, the swamp, and it is. But places out here, I live in a very, very old part of Florida, a very old part. The Spanish settled St. Augustine long before, I think it was the first settlement on the East Coast in the Americas. We're about 20 minutes from St. Augustine. So this whole area is old. So I call it the swamp, but you can see places that had been homesteaded. I'll do a video out here one day of just kind of tooling around and showing y'all some different stuff. Some different telltale signs. And again, like these palmettos and things, they'll be regrown 100-fold by the time summer gets here. Damn, sword swing's good, man. Really good feeling. I like it a lot. Now, I get that for a lot of people, might not be a lot of use for a sword, but if you're a collector or something like that, or you're just like me and love blades, yeah, this thing's badass, man. And again, I'm not even a novice with swords. I'm not even part of Sword Tube, really. I just like playing with steel, sharp shit. All right, let's go on. We're about to wrap it up. I have found that with the Atrim Cutlass, I keep wanting to say Atrim or AFib, it is Atrim. For me, it's better to kind of hold on to the pommel. I get a little more whip, a little more leverage. This area we're in at one point was a homestead. You can kind of see the outlying it's not just a space that opens up. I will say this, I weighed in this morning at right at 230, which is down from what I've been weighing. It feels a lot better in the swamp weighing 230 than it ever did 320. Listen, I hope y'all have enjoyed this. I've really liked it. I'm Scab. You're not. The Atrim Cutlass from from Kingston Arms, who are owned by Cast Siberia. Check them out.